my name is Kingsley Ighobor, Department of Global Communications at the UN headquarters in New York. My first question is, ECOWAS will be 50 years in a few days. What would you consider the key achievements of the regional body?
Thank you very much, Mr. Ighobor, for having us this afternoon. Yes, we'll be celebrating, or we have started celebrating the celebration of our 50th anniversary. And on the 28th of May, we will be celebrating the day itself in Lagos, and hopefully in the presence of His Excellency General Yakubu Gowon, the only living founding father of ECOWAS. And it is an opportunity for us to celebrate him, as well as the founding fathers who have really taken the initiative to put together ECOWAS that we are all working for. Now, since 1975, a lot has happened, and a lot can be attributed to ECOWAS. First, you know ECOWAS's role in peace and security, and I think that is an area UN is very familiar with. Most recently, ECOWAS's intervention in the Gambia led to the ensured that the will of the Gambian people got respected. ECOWAS has also supported member states in their drive for good governance through democratic processes. Now, if you come to the core mandate of ECOWAS, which is regional integration, we can both proudly say we are the most advanced regional economic bloc on the African continent. We have been able to integrate the people through our free movement protocols. We've been able to integrate a market of 400 million people through the ECOWAS trade scheme that enables us to trade freely in community produce throughout the community. We have the ECOWAS Common External Tariff, which is also meant to boost our trade, intra-community trade. Beyond this, if I may add, we have major regional projects. The Lagos-Abidjan corridor is a major project that we have embarked upon, have been completed. We are at a stage of resource mobilizing for the implementation of the project. Studies have indicated an investment outlay or investment requirement of 15 million, but a very good return to the tune of 15%, an IRR of 15%, which is extremely good. So beyond this, we have the Abidjan-Praia corridor also, which has begun just 2 weeks ago in the region, trying to sensitize member states to the work that requires to be done. And this afternoon, I signed the first contract, or at least I gave approval for the procurement of procurements relating to that particular corridor. We have the ECOWAS Power Pool, the West Africa Power Pool, that seeks to link all the member states to a grid or to a power and to facilitate trade in electricity, in energy within the region. You also have the non-grid operations or non-grid programs through the ECOWAS Renewable Energy Centers, which are based in Cape Verde. So all these are examples or achievements that ECOWAS can cite, and we are happy that they're being recognized.
Quickly, when you say corridor, what do you mean? Road construction? What's corridor?
Well, what we plan to do, we have two major corridors in the sub-region along the coast. You have Abidjan, Lagos Abidjan, which goes through Benin Republic, it goes through Ghana and Togo. The idea is to have highway, regional highway from Lagos to Abidjan, and also from Abidjan to Praia, with a maritime component that will link Cape Verde to Senegal to Dakar. So this is what I mean by those corridors. And of course, you also have some inland corridors that are on the master plan.
Okay, that's really some achievements. What would you consider are the persistent obstacles or challenges that ECOWAS has faced over this period, and how are you trying to address them?
Well, the persistent challenges are pretty much the challenges of underdevelopment, the challenges of low productivity, the structural challenges that our economies are facing. We do have a trade liberalization scheme, the 20%. You look at countries or regions that are highly integrated, they trade among themselves to a very high level. I mean, in the case of European Union, it goes up to 60, 70%. The ASEAN countries also trade at a very high level. So we have a long way to go. If you ask what contributes to this, I can cite a few factors. First, infrastructure is lacking, and we need to enhance this. We do have productivity issues also. We are not producing enough, so we need to invest heavily in the productive sector so that we can produce and trade. And another vexing problem is the non-tariff barriers. We are not saying member states should not prioritize security and ensure the community remains safe, given the volatility in the region. But I think that should not be at the expense of free trade or free movement of goods and people. So these are some of the challenges. And of course, energy is another major issue. The cost of energy in the sub-region is extremely high. Not only that, it is in some cases not available. So these are some of the challenges ECOWAS is faced and which it is addressing itself to.
Okay, you spoke earlier about ECOWAS' role in bringing peace to different countries in the sub-region. How has your role evolved, your approach evolved in terms of conflict prevention and resolution, particularly in light of recent political developments in the region?
Well, as you know, the nature of conflict has evolved, has changed a lot. In the past, while we were dealing with rebels and identified groups, now we are dealing with hybrid threat. I mean, essentially in the form of terrorism. That complicates matters because you're dealing with a different group of people whose claims or whose objectives are not too clear, and they are not easily identifiable. So this is the difference between what we faced with in the past and what we are facing with. And therefore, it requires a new approach, it requires extensive joint efforts. And this is why we are working very closely to reactivate our plan of action, our regional standby force, and working with partners to address this new threat.
Okay, so intra-regional trade, you said it's about 20%, and I think that is even still more advanced or higher than other regions on the continent. So what can other regions learn from ECOWAS, and how do you think that your approach interlink with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area?
Well, actually, when I talked about the interregional trade, I said it is below 20%, but in actual fact, it is around 12 to 15%. That is the real figure. Depending on the year, the average is 14, 15%. Now, certainly, with that low level of interregional trade, we still remain the most integrated region on the subcontinent, on the continent. And so we can learn a lot from other regions, can learn a lot from us, and this has been happening. We have a platform of regional economic community chief executives, and just recently we handed over the chairmanship. During our chairmanship of that platform, we received some regional economic community representatives here. And a number of them were interested in learning how ECOWAS has been able to address its financing challenges. As you know, ECOWAS is wholly financed by what we call the community levy, 0.5% on imports from outside the region goes to finance ECOWAS operations. Of course, we do have some projects that benefit from partner support, for which we are extremely grateful. So this is one area other RECs have found to be interesting, and during their visits here, they paid special attention to that. They've also been looking at the free movement protocols and its application, because you see some who are not familiar with free movement feel that free movement allows bigger countries to flood smaller countries. In the case of ECOWAS, it is not the case. People move freely just to do their business and get back to where they are from. So that is an area they have also been learning from us. They've also looked at our trade liberalization schemes, how it has been working, the challenges and what they can avoid, the mistakes we may have committed that can serve as a good lesson for them. Now, our trade liberalization scheme, I think, dovetails very well with the trade liberalization scheme at the continental level, namely the African Continental Free Trade Area. It is more of an expansion from the African Continental Free Trade Arrangement is more of an expansion of ECOWAS's ETLS. The African Continental Free Trade Area will give us a market of 1-point-something billion people. So we look forward to a seamless transition to the Continental Free Trade Arrangements. And we do hope that the lessons we have learned from at the regional level can serve us as we integrate into the Continental Free Trade Arrangements.
Okay, what are your views on the role of women and young people in development? And do you have any initiatives that support these groups?
If you look at the ECOWAS Vision 2050, it talks about equitable and sustainable inclusive development, and this is where this is in recognition of the role of the youth and women. We are talking about 70% of the population. The women and youth, I think, constitute nothing less than 70–80% of the population. So whatever we are doing, whether we know it or not, or whether we express it or not, we are doing it for this particular category of the population, 70% of the population. And this is why we have a very big department of dealing with human development. And here we have the gender. This department is also overseeing a major center we have in Senegal, in Dakar, called the ECOWAS Gender Center. This is a dedicated center focusing entirely on gender issues, on women empowerment, especially the capacity development and the education of the girl child. Health issues affecting women, fistula program is a big program. Our health programs also focus a lot on women and the young people. Our education program is certainly youth focused, because we believe we cannot lift people from poverty without capacity. And this is where it is. This is why we are putting a lot of emphasis on capacity development. It goes beyond this, because we have, by others, have shown that some of the young people who join the armed groups do so not out of conviction, but because they are looking for a job. So you need to build the capacity of these young people to be able to wrest them from some of these armed groups and promote peace and security within the region.
Excellent. So given the evolving needs of member states and citizens, some critics or people may say that ECOWAS need to do more to remain relevant. How would you respond to those?
I agree. I mean, I think those are constructive ways of criticizing us, criticizing the community. We can only remain grateful to such opinions, harsh as they may be. We think we can learn a lot from them. I believe we may not agree with some of them, But I think the spirit is what matters here. They just want to see a better community, and they may express themselves in different formats. And I think this will make us better by letting people express their frustrations, their expectations, and their impatience. I mean, we're talking about a youthful population, and when you talk about youth, you cannot talk about patience too much. So it will help us do better.
Okay, so one last question. Looking ahead, what is your vision for ECOWAS, say, in the next 10 to 20 years? And what legacy would you personally like to leave behind as president of the Commission when your tenure is over?
Well, I think looking ahead, ECOWAS needs to focus on peace and security, because really we cannot do anything without peace and security. You see, the average African is very enterprising. Extremely, we have a lot of people with entrepreneurial drive, but without peace and security, those potentials cannot be realized. So peace and security must remain a priority of the region. Number two, we need to work on investment in the productive sector. We can only address key challenges if we invest in the productive sector. And here I'm talking about agriculture. Africa has no business importing wheat, really. We have the land, we have the water, we have the population to do. So it's a question of investment. So going forward, we need to focus on this. And by focusing on the productive sector, we will be able to enhance integration, because we'll be able to produce more to trade. As you know, it is one thing to have market access, but a totally different thing to have something, to produce something to use, to capitalize, to benefit from that market access. So we need to do that, investing in the productive sector. Three, we need to invest heavily in education. I'm not talking about necessarily about book education, but capacity development. That is extremely important. And the social sector investment would require a lot of investment in the health sector. Our health sector leaves a lot to be desired. So I think these four areas going forward should remain our priorities and should remain the vision that we'll all have to work towards. Now, what I want to leave as ECOWAS, I think I have only one more year to go, but I can say I'm leaving behind an institution which is stronger than perhaps it ever was. The institution at a time when you have sister institutions having serious funding issues, ECOWAS leaders have been committing their funds to ECOWAS. As you have followed, perhaps in December, Nigeria, in 19 years, Nigeria paid up its dues to ECOWAS for the first time in 19 years. And as I speak, all the countries are current with their payments. So this is a major thing, because it is an expression of their confidence in the management that I have the privilege to lead. So we'll be leaving an institution that, in my view, is more capable. Certainly, we'll be leaving, hopefully, we can resolve this, but we'll be leaving some challenges behind, because we are in a world which is more challenged than it has ever been in many years.